Now you're very welcome back. It is that time on a Tuesday afternoon when we talk relationships, and David Kavanagh, our relationship expert, has joined me now. And what we're talking about today is internet addiction, because internet addiction has become more prominent, and 50% of US teenagers feel addicted to their mobile devices, and 4 in 10 UK teenagers consider themselves to be addicted to the internet. But what about for adults? The internet has become a severe source of distraction to most of us, if not all of us, and if not an obsessive fixation, then it certainly is, I suppose, causing some people some problems. So, David, tell me what you think is sort of, in terms of relationship difficulties, what role is the internet playing in all that?
Okay, so when people become addicted to the internet, they find themselves a bit distant from their partner. They can feel very distracted, and they can feel quite anxious or agitated if they're not online. So what happens then is the partner of somebody who's addicted to the internet feels that they're in competition with the person's usage of tablets, smartphones, PCs, etc., laptops. So even as far as bedtime, so people can bring tablets to bed, and they lose interest in sex, they lose interest in intimacy, lose interest in affection, because the brain is so wired towards the stimulation that they're receiving from the internet, and that's the problem. So you can't really be addicted to the internet, but you're addicted to the stimulation that it provides.
So absenting yourself through the internet is like, I suppose, absenting yourself through lots of other things that you might do. People used to talk in the old days about being golf widows or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
It is.
Yep.
That those things. But is it realistic? I suppose people use their phones so ubiquitously. We barely notice each other on our phones now, to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. Is that a mistake, or is it just that life is evolving in this direction?
See, it's not about smartphone usage per se. It's about how people are affected by the internet's stimulating kind of experiences. So internet addiction is not just a case of scrolling endlessly through your smartphone, Facebook feeds, whatever. It's about a chronic brain transformation that occurs in the brain at a kind of an organic level that effectively changes how people perceive reality, because they're so consumed with needing to be on the internet that's all they think about. So their partner's emotional needs come second, the children's emotional needs don't exist perhaps, and their focus is on when can I go back online without any distractions or without any kind of anyone to interrupt me, so to speak. So when the kids are in bed, grand, no, but she's still up or he's still up late, that's not good. I wonder when they'll go to bed. Just like any normal addiction, it's like the secrecy bit happens, so people stay up later at night time, and they just find ways and excuses to be online that they don't really need to be online.
Some of what I wonder when we talk about these kind of things is that, is the human condition designed to be fully engaged and intimate with anybody else all the time anyway? Do we all sort of live in our own heads?
Of course you do.
And just, we talk about so many things that absent us. We talk about internet addiction, we talk about phubbing, we talk about drinking, people use those things to zone out the other people in their lives.
Correct.
And we see that as a problem. But is it the human condition that all of us can only tolerate anybody, including our nearest and dearest, for a certain amount of time before we need to retreat into our own bubble and just be on our own for a bit? Are we trying to fix something that is fixable? Are we trying to fix something that is always going to be the way?
Well, you see, people who come to me for internet addiction help or recovery, their lives have become unmanageable because of their inability to be present in the relationship, and their partners. I mean, if you're like, the clients I have as well would be partners of internet addicts, and they will tell you that the quality of their relationship is disastrous. They just feel like there's no relationship there anymore. So for those people, it's not a case of just being absent or their partner being absent from them. This is a real crisis in a relationship. So I think we have to be careful between this, distinguishing between if it's just a kind of a habit that we have, we need to go back into our own minds and into our own space, which is fine, or being physically and emotionally and psychologically disengaged from the relationship, which is a completely different level of distress that can be caused by this kind of addiction.
Loads of people are texting on this, David. Someone says, my husband and I fight about this the whole time. He is never off his phone, even when we have dinner out or if we're at the cinema. So he's using his phone in the cinema. That's pretty hardcore. We have a great relationship otherwise, but any advice is appreciated. Someone says, Ciara, I lost my wife and our marriage to Netflix. Somebody else says, I recently found out my partner cheated, and I think Instagram had a part to play. It's easy now to connect with people who live near you, and the plethora of people filling their feeds with highly produced photos with an almost theatrical level of makeup and filters, lip fillers and gym shots warps people's minds and a sense of entitlement. I find some groups' life is far more about performance online than real life and their relationships with people. There's loads. You see, I find that funny because you can't say, oh, my marriage ended because of Netflix or Instagram. My marriage ended because my partner drifted away towards something they found more interesting. And I'm just wondering that the top one about where she was saying our relationship is great otherwise, but any advice appreciated because we fighting about this the whole time. He's never off his phone. Isn't there a thing like the reason why people pay endless hours of things like Candy Crush and they play it and play it and play it is because it's like going for a walk or doing yoga, although in a really weird way, in that you just zone out everything. You zone out everything and you're mindless and you're mind numbing. No. And lots of people want to just do that.
No, it's not about numbing the mind. It's about the stimulation. It's about the dopamine hit, the serotonin hit, and the adrenaline hit that comes from playing certain games or looking for constant stimulation through internet surfing. So that's different than mindfulness. It's different than just reading a book. It's different than being, just wandering off into a daydream. It's about the stimulation.
It does hook you in, is what you're saying. It does
hook you in, and the brain rewires itself because of the stimulation that it receives. And that's the danger, because it leads to ever more increasing need for stimulation.
So let's talk about that first text. Any advice appreciated? I have a great relationship with my husband, but he's never off his phone and he even looks at it in the cinema.
But how can that be a great relationship? If
I was kind of wondering.
Yeah, but I get that as well in the work I do. People minimise the damage that internet addiction is doing to their relationships because it just seems weird. How can you be addicted to the internet? That's just nonsense. But it's a real thing, and you'll probably find that more and more people, if they become aware of it, will identify with the conditions or the factors that cause the relationship to break down. So tell your husband that you have a serious problem with his internet usage, and then turn off the Wi-Fi. This is what I do. You tell my clients, turn off the Wi-Fi and watch the chaos happen as a consequence, because his brain will go into shock.
But is that...
I'm being dramatic there, but
literally,
but can
you treat your husband or your wife like a child and say, well, I'm going to turn off the Wi-Fi now, because then you're in the wrong. I'm going to turn off the Wi-Fi now,
well, you're being controlling,
because you're you haven't looked at me all evening and blah blah blah. Yeah. So the Wi-Fi's going. But who wants to be in a relationship where somebody turns off the Wi-Fi? Surely it's a bit like an alcoholic needing to want to quit booze in order to actually quit booze.
Can't, but other people are being... See, okay,
but so you can't stop anyone doing anything.
Right, so if a husband or wife feels that their marriage is about to fall apart because of internet addiction, for example, this addiction, what should they do then? If they tell their partner, look, your internet usage is causing us to drift apart, we're not having sex, there's no intimacy, whatever, should they then just, if the partner refuses to turn off the internet, should they just go, okay, bye now? Or should they just stay there miserable and unhappy?
Well, maybe they should say bye now, but because maybe every week we come up with, I say they should just all split up, and you say no, they should do things to fix it.
It's not that simple, you see, because separation isn't that simple.
But no, it's not. But ultimately, if it is a case that the partner, doesn't matter which one it is, lots of people hear about their husbands on the phone, but other people about their wives. If they're annoyed about their husband or wife on the internet zoning out from them, either ask them, say, this will wreck our relationship and I'll leave and it'll be over. If that's your choice, then so be it. And if that's not your choice, then do something about it. Surely you give the person responsibility for choosing in that case, rather than just kind of going, I'm going to turn off the internet.
But if you're a woman who, for example, has 3 children and you're dependent on your husband for his income because you're looking after the kids and childcare is too expensive, whatever, as is a fairly common experience for a lot of women, and you say to your husband, if you don't turn off the internet, our relationship is over. Right, that's grand in practice, that's grand in theory, but where is she going to go? Is he just going to move out of his house? Because he's going to say no. Because I work with clients who did say, I'm not moving out of my house.
Yeah, but is the alternative she then cuts the wires to the telly? That alternative isn't ideal either.
It's not ideal, but is it not the lesser of two evils in terms of uprooting an entire family because somebody's addiction is
what do you... Okay, I hear you.
Do you know what I mean?
And I totally do. And I totally do. But what do you... Let's follow it through to its logical conclusions. She's now discontinued the payments. She's in charge of the bills, let's say, and she's no longer paying the internet. So there's no broadband in the house. There's no Netflix. There's no nothing. Of course, he has 3G on his phone. What do you expect to happen at that point? He now thinks she's a cow. At
this point, he should become angry and frustrated and disappointed, and his brain is going to start looking for the stimulation that it used to receive on the internet. And he's going to have to either come to the conclusion that, yes, I do have a problem, or no, I don't have a problem. She's the one with the issue, shall we say. And if that's the case, the marriage has no future. Not the kind of viable, normal, healthy relationship that we look for or crave. Because, he has to admit that there's a problem, like in any addiction. Or where do you go with that? He's distracted, he's gone. There's no intimacy, no affection. It's gone.
I think I'm gone, to be honest. But anyway, someone says, Ciara, the reason my husband left me is over Netflix, and it was because I couldn't stick watching sci-fi and his rubbish TV every single night. You see, they're happier apart. I think you and I are probably responsible for more divorces in this country than a little David. But anyway, more of that next week.